I'm talking about here with your core values, what are the things that are going to drive you toward your 12-month target? Or in other words, what are the non-negotiables? What do you stand for? What do you represent? But we've got a model that we know works. Like we know absolutely, steadfastly, 100% guaranteed for sure, if you follow this model, you will actually get freedom back. Forget about New Year's resolutions. I'm going to show you a 4-step process that's going to knock those out of the park. I think the problem with New Year's resolutions is they don't last much beyond the new year, and I think there's a much better way of looking at it and a different way of then approaching it, and that's what I want to deal with in this episode. Welcome to the Mastermind for Business podcast. If you are in a service business or professional practice and you just feel like you're a little bit trapped, feel like you've become a slave to your business, then you're in the right place, because that's what this podcast is all about. Let's get that underway.
If you want more time, money, freedom, and have a business that's not reliant on you, then you're in the right place. Each week, Mark Creedon, along with some of the very best business minds in the world, will take you through simple, practical steps you can take to create the business you always wanted. From his own practical experience, Mark will show you how to work less, make more, and get the business you always wanted, the one that you deserve. Now here's your host, one of Australia's most sought-after business coaches, Mark Creedon.
There's been a lot of research around New Year's resolutions, and every new year we make all these resolutions about what we're going to do differently and how we just want to leave the year behind us. And we also know that they don't last long. There's a bunch of different outcomes of research, but they say that New Year's resolutions can last anywhere from 7 to 14 days before they certainly don't see out the first month. And we find ourselves getting toward the end of the year and going, well, honestly, what the fuck happened? I mean, I had all these plans, I had all these things in place that I was prepared to do and wanted to do, and I've achieved bugger all of it, right? Or I've achieved only a small percentage. And so I think that rather than looking at New Year's resolutions, which is, I want to do this differently, the way I look at my New Year's resolutions is there's a two-prong approach. It's about the mindset, the way you think about it differently, and then actually having some structure to it. And I want to talk to you first about the mindset, and then we're going to get into the structure component of it. When it comes to the mindset, rather than making New Year's resolutions, I simply make some new promises to myself. So I sit down and look at not so much what are the things that I want to do differently, but the things that I now want to do. And there's a real kind of science behind it, if you like. See, if at the beginning of the year you look at it and you go, well, there's a bunch of things I want to do differently. So that then entails, what did I do last year? And then what do I now want to change, and how do I want that to look different? And if you were to draw that on a piece of paper as a line, as a continuum, you're dragging what was different, what you were doing, toward zero position, and then from zero position, because that nullifies what it is that you sort of go, I didn't do right, I didn't get right. So you're dragging that to a zero position, and then from a zero position, you're then moving forward with what it is that you want to do differently. But what you want to do differently is still hinged or pinned to what you did last year. Whereas if you look at it in a different way and go, do you know what, I'm just going to make some new promises to myself. So imagine that we treat the new year as exactly that, new year, new opportunity. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to make a promise to myself that I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do it differently. I'm going to do this. And what that does is it takes away the nexus or the connection to the old thing, and it focuses purely on the new thing. And by doing that, you're not getting the drag of this old thing and the guilt or the shame or the frustration of having not achieved what you wanted to achieve. And instead, all you get is the focus on what you want to do moving forward. So when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I like to look at it as a promise to myself. That's the first thing. It's simply a promise. I'm promising myself that I'm going to do this. It's not that I'm going to do it differently. I'm not dragging the past back into this process. I'm simply treating it as if it is absolutely a clean slate. And when you think about it, what better time to have a clean slate? So if we take this New Year's resolution concept, number one, we think of it as a promise to ourselves. Number two, we don't think about it as doing something differently. It's just a promise to do something. It's coming from a positive perspective as opposed to the negative connotations that come with the past. And it's a clean slate. You can cut the ties with the past and you can just move forward. The other thing that I do with that promise is I write it down. I journal about it. And in the process of journaling about it, I actually pull the thought out that's around it. So in 2025, I want to, or I will, in 2025, I will do this. And I journal about why it is that I want to do that, because the thing that is the greater motivator is not necessarily the thing that you want to do, but it's the outcome, it's the consequence, it's the transformation. Right? So if I decide that I want to spend more time with my grandkids or my kids, then why am I doing that? What's the outcome of that? What's building stronger relationships and just having more fun and enjoying things and having dedicated time for that in my life and understanding that's why I've worked the way I have and done what I've done in order to achieve that. So I think writing it down, we all know the value of writing it down. We know that if we write it down, we're far more likely to achieve it. But it's not just a matter of, you shouldn't write it down as a list, because then it just becomes a to-do list, a task list, and it, like a gazillion other tasks that you set yourself across the year, it just falls into that category, and maybe you'll get it done or maybe you won't. So if you're going to set yourself a promise for what it is that you are looking to achieve or do in the year ahead, set yourself the promise, write down what it is, but make sure you expand beyond that to what's the outcome? If I achieve that, what does that do for me? What does that get? What's my driving force? What's my motivator? Now, if you want to go a little bit further, you could also tap into what's a reward. So what is the reward? I mean, maybe the thing itself is a reward. Maybe the motivation behind it is a reward. You could look at a punishment as well. If I don't achieve it, then I will do this. I think we've spoken about this in a previous episode of the Mastermind for Business podcast. I'm not a huge fan of the punishments because we know that positive reinforcement and positive rewards have a much higher effect than the negative punishment. And again, heaps of neuropsychology behind it. If you want to read some stuff on that, great books by Richard Wiseman, Professor Richard Wiseman out of the UK. So we know that if we can focus on the reward for it, we're far more likely to achieve it than if we focus on the punishment. So I write it down. I then pull apart the why behind it and what's the outcome I'm getting from it. And then the final step is I share that with someone. So I create an accountability buddy. I actually share the outcome that I'm looking for. And it's amazing. And I give that person the permission to keep me accountable. Hey, Mark, you said that in 2025 you were going to do this. How's that tracking? How's that working? I mean, it's one of the great things about coaching, right? And the things that Caroline, who's my business partner, and my wife, I always say Caroline's a great accountability coach. I mean, she's got a master's degree in bum kicking, and she's a great accountability coach because she taps into, oh, you want to achieve this, or this is the goal that you've set yourself. Well, why? Why do you want to do that? What's the outcome for that? What's the purpose behind it? How are you going to stay motivated? What is the driving force? And then what excuses are you making? And why are you making those excuses? What could you be doing? What could you be doing differently? So New Year's resolutions, quick recap on it. Don't worry about a New Year's resolution. Make it a promise to yourself, number one. Number two, don't refer to the past. Oh, this year rather than last year, I want to do this differently. No. You just want to make yourself a new promise. So treat it as a clean slate. Number three, write it down. But don't just write it down, expand on it. At the time you write down why you want to do it, what the outcome is, what's the driving force, what's the motivator. Number four, share it with someone. and give them permission to keep you accountable on it. I think if you follow those simple techniques, you're going to see a change in the way that you view New Year's resolutions, but more importantly, you're going to see a change in the way that those resolutions end up at the end of the year, so that you're not getting to the end of the year and go, well, geez, end of the year, what about the end of January? I didn't even get out of January for those resolutions. Let's next have a look at a 4-step process to get you real clarity moving ahead in the year. We'll do that in just a second. All right, so I really like the idea. At one of our mastermind intensives, 3 times a year we run a 2-day intensive on the Gold Coast for our mastermind members. But at one of those intensives recently, we ran the concept of the North Star, right? What is your North Star? Your North Star is kind of your guiding principles. It's the thing that you look to keep you motivated, guided, on track. And when things are going well and you want them to even get better, it's the guiding principle. When things are going shit and you want them to get better, it's the guiding light. And if you come to a fork in the road moment, do I or don't I, it becomes the guiding principle that helps you to make those decisions, particularly if it's a sort of a moral dilemma, if you like. So, and that's the great value of a North Star. But I really like the idea of a compass. And what we find is that, we talk to a lot of business owners who toward the end of a year start to feel a little bit lost. And I was thinking about this over the break. They come to sort of at the end of the year, I just feel lost. I just feel like I'm trapped in my business. I went into it because I love it, and I went into my profession because I love it. But now I just feel trapped. Now I just really feel like it's got me rather than me having it, and it's controlling me rather than me controlling it. And so what happens when you're lost, of course, one of the great things that you can have is a compass, right? Or at least a way of being guided out. So my mate Mick Donaldson, who we've had on the podcast in the past, a former SAS patrol commander, Mick could use the stars, right? But a compass comes in really handy. So I think that we can create a compass, and I've got this tool that we call the Clarity Compass. And if you'd like a copy of the Clarity Compass worksheet, mark at metropole.com.au and just put compass in the subject line and we'll get it to you. So that's mark at metropole, metropole.com.au, and just put compass in the subject line, and I will get you this little worksheet along with a video on exactly how it works. But we're going to take you through it now. So you imagine that there's basically 4 points to a compass. And I think the 4 points that relate to that Clarity Compass is really around the point number 1 is your target. What is it you want to achieve in the year ahead? Now, you can expand that out. You can take that into a 12-month, a 2-year, or 3-year, or a 5-year target. I don't really like to plan much out beyond that. Obviously, we've got overarching plans that go out to 10 years, but the reality is life changes, things move quickly. I would hate to be locked into something that's taken me on a 10-year plan without the ability to be able to move things around and change things as I went. So, number 1, the number 1 point on that Clarity Compass, if you want to talk about how I am going to get clarity for the year ahead, number 1 point on that Clarity Compass is your target. And for me, the way I would work this would be, where do I want to be in 12 months' time? One of the questions that we ask, certainly that I ask people when they approach us to join Mastermind is, okay, imagine that, and I change it depending on where they're living, right? But imagine you're walking down the beach and you stub your toe on a lamp, you grab the lamp, rub it, and the genie pops out. And the genie says, I can make your business wish come true in 12 months. So everything that you want to achieve in the next 12 months, I can make come true. So I want you to imagine that that's what's happened. And then I want you to transport yourself 12 months hence, and we're having this conversation. And I'm going to ask you, where are you at right now? What's happening for you? What are you doing? What are you earning? Who's working with you? What does your team look like? What does your business look like? What's the harmony between work and your life, your home life, for example? How's that all working? So I like to, when I'm seeking clarity for the next year ahead, it's the concept, and I would put this as the North point on the compass, because this, in some ways, this is like the North Star in this regard. It's, where do I want to be in 12 months' time? What am I going to keep my eye on as I'm moving forward over the next 12 months to what it is that I want to achieve? Now, you should plan out beyond that. We've got a very simple tool that we call our one-page business plan. It takes you out to 3 years. But for this, what is the next 12 months? If you were going to sit down and have this conversation with somebody on the 31st of December 2025, what would that look like for you? Where would you be? What would you be doing? What would you be earning? Who's the team that you'd have around you, et cetera, et cetera. So spend some time mapping that out and then narrow it down to 4, maybe 5 points. Then the more narrow you can get that, the more likely you are to achieve it. Again, one of the mistakes people make is they've got these massive big plans. Oh, I've walked into businesses and have, business plans. My 3-year plan here, it's 237 pages long. Guess what? No one's going to read it. Not even you. You're not going to go back over that. But if you've just got 4, maybe 5 points of, these are the main things I want to achieve. For us here in Mastermind, our aim is to help, in the next 12 months, to help 100 business owners spend more time in their life and less time in their business. And that's my hope, that's my dream, that's my target. So that becomes my target. So point number 1, the north point is what you target. Point number 2 is, what are the values that are going to drive you to get there? Now, we've spoken before about values. And, values are not about honesty and integrity and truthfulness and inclusivity and fairness, and they're great concepts, don't get me wrong, support them 100%, but they're not really values. They are overarching principles. Where I'm talking about here with your core values, what are the things that are going to drive you toward your 12-month target? Or in other words, what are the non-negotiables? What do you stand for? What do you represent? And I'm going to share with you, because I've done this exercise for our mastermind business, and I'm actually going to, as Michael Yardney would say, give you a peek behind the curtains. And I hope by sharing my targets, my values, etc., with you, that it will help you to then design those for you. These are mine. They may not suit you. They may not work for you. But the whole concept is that you take them as a way of kind of guiding you for what it is that you want to achieve. So again, we're looking for 4 or 5 core values. Here are ours, by the way. We only work with people we like. I absolutely refuse to have somebody in our mastermind program who I don't like. Makes no sense. We spend a lot of time working together. I want you to, if you're in our program, you come to our mastermind intensives, and I want you to sit next to somebody at the intensive who you actually would enjoy their company. And it's not just about the company, the people we like, because I guess you got to think about what's the guiding principles behind that. Why would we like someone? Well, if they are our people, if they are people who are going to contribute, to learn, to dig in and do the work, to share their wins, to share their losses, to share successes, to share success stories, to support each other, if it's not all about them and they are about the community. So in Mastermind, we often say people come for the content and stay for the community. So they're the people that we're looking for, and they're the people we like. So if they don't fit that criteria, we're not really going to like them. And if we don't like them, we're not going to work with them. So number 1, we only work with people we like. Number 2, we focus on our why. We're constantly reminding ourselves of why it is that we do this, right? Why it is that we're doing this. And you can feel free, by the way, to take any of these. If these resonate with you and go, yeah, you know what, I really like that. That's going to be one of my core values. Please, with my compliments, my pleasure. I hope that it's of help to you. So number 2, we focus on our why. Number 3, we genuinely want to help our clients to have a better life. And nothing could be truer. I mean, I genuinely, what gets me out of bed every morning, I don't want this episode to be all about me. What gets me out of bed in the morning is knowing that our clients are actually having a better life. If they're making more money, that's great. But I want to know that they're spending more time with their family, that they're spending more time playing golf or going sailing or whatever it is that makes their life happy. We only get one shot at this, right? I mean, unless you believe in reincarnation, and good luck to you if you do. But essentially, we only get one shot at this. So I think we've got an obligation to be happy and to live a better life, to live the best life we can. And that is one of our absolute core values. And then finally, we are always honest, even if it hurts. So sometimes we've got to be honest with our clients, and it might be something they don't really want to hear, but we're always going to be honest with them. but we're almost also honest with ourselves, even if it hurts us. So if we know that we've done the wrong thing, we've let somebody down, we haven't delivered what we said we would, or we haven't delivered value on something, we're brutally honest with ourselves, even when it hurts. So they're our 4 core values. The next point on the compass, we're up to point 3 now, is your purpose or your why. And I think this takes kind of an internal and external approach. And I was actually just journaling about that this morning. So internally, your why is like it's like your internal motivator. What is my sense of purpose? Who am I? Yoda, why am I here? What's the, well, it would be, if it was Yoda, it would be, why here am I? But it's that internal sense of purpose, right? And then there's the external, which is, well, what's the outcome? If I achieve this 12-month goal that I've set myself, why am I doing it? What's the outcome for me? Is it a much bigger business? Is it have more team? Is it buy a new house, buy a dream home by the beach? Is it buy a new car? I don't know. What is it for you? So understanding your purpose and your why. And perhaps it's also an external thing. So perhaps it's around the people you work with. So for us, it's to genuinely help service business owners let go, develop people around them so they can spend less time in their business and more time in their life. That's really what our purpose, our external purpose, that's what drives us. There's other things that gets us, obviously. That's the driving force. Finally, number 4 is, what are the strategic anchors? And they are kind of like, they're the points that really anchor you to. These are the things that you have or you do that will continue to drive you toward your target. So our 12-month target is to help 100 business owners spend less time in their business and more time in their life, gain freedom back. What are the anchors that we use to get there? And for us, it's our years of experience. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and it's really interesting when you sort of see some of the young coaches. Don't get me wrong, some of them are fantastic. They're kicking goals and they're doing amazing things. But there are also some people that just don't really have the level of experience. I mean, grey hair has value, right? So for me, it's our years of experience. Our high-touch support. What will drive us to be able to achieve all of those things that will push our core values, that will meet our purpose and our why, and that will get us to our 12-month target, is we've got really high-touch support. We really support our people and make sure that we're helping them to get to their goals as well. Access to a faculty. We've got an amazing faculty of people who are involved in, human resources, finance, accounting, recruitment, legals. There's just an enormous faculty that we have around us, and when people work with us, they've got access to that faculty, like access to my little black book. And then finally, our model and our tools. So we know that we've got a model, a genius model, many thanks to Simon Bowen, but we've got a model that we know works. Like, we know absolutely, steadfastly, 100% guaranteed for sure, if you follow this model, you will actually get freedom back. So my challenge to you now is to think, as the year ahead, what are the 4 points on your compass? What is your 12-month goal? What are your core values? What's your purpose and your why? And what are those anchors, the strategic anchors? In other words, the strategic tools that you have that are going to help you to achieve that 12-month goal. Hey, it's been fun having this chat with you. What have we looked at? Well, we've looked at the fact that you can take a New Year's resolution and you can run it as a New Year's resolution, and I'll talk to you at the end of January when it'll be out the window. Or you can think of it differently, and you can start thinking about it being a promise, but a promise you make to yourself without thinking about the past. So it's a real clean slate. It's a forward-focused, and you don't get all of that drag and negativity that comes with thinking about changing the past. Then we looked at the clarity compass. How do you get clarity for the year ahead? I think there's a simple 4 steps, right? Just work out what's your target, what are your values, what's your purpose, and then what are the strategic anchors that are going to get you there. These are the sort of things that we talk about all the time with our clients in our Mastermind for Business program, metropolemastermind.com.au. Don't forget, if you'd like a copy of the worksheet that we've created to help with this clarity compass, mark at metropole, metropole.com.au. Just put compass in the subject line and we'll shoot that out to you straight away. It's been great chatting. Looking forward to the year ahead and lots more episodes where we're sharing with you really simple tips and tricks to help you to get freedom in your business. At the end of the day, that's what I want for you. That's our purpose, help you to get freedom. In the meantime, till we speak next, please make sure you spend time with those who matter most.
Thanks for joining us on the Mastermind for Business podcast. If you're ready to have a business that you're not a slave to, check out metropolemastermind.com.au or have a chat with Mark and the team at All the W's, see what's possible.today.